This is the process that we go through to do it. You got to collect the data, which is down here. You upload the observations into a data bank, sort of a temporary storage spot. Then we compute some indices, and that happens up here. Then we archive those and put them into the acoustic library. And then we can access the information in a number of different ways. We archive, access, analyze, and then interpret. And the observations can be interpreted on the web in real time if you want, or download them and put them into a program like SAS or SPSS or Minitab or whatever you're happy or familiar with in terms of statistical analysis. I said I'd give an example of one of the newer projects. This would be up the Great Lakes Soundscape Project up in northern Michigan and Wisconsin. Here's a general map showing where the project is located. These are the sensor locations. There are 18 sensor systems set out there. We use the SM2 technology. One of the basic units that we use is just basically looking at power in different frequency intervals at 1 kHz level. And this just shows you the pattern of the frequencies as they fall from all of the sensor stations during August. There's 3,900 points in this particular graph, and it shows you that most of the energy is in the lower frequencies in this case, and then changes in the frequency over time. The bottom axis is hour of the day, and the y-axis is the power in watts per kilohertz.
So Stuart, while you got that up, it's probably worth pointing out some of the inferences you can take from that. So you've got your black line is L2, which is more along the lines of the anthropogenic.
That's right, that's the low frequency sounds.
So you can see that going up as around midday and so on, and yet the biological sounds are dropping off.
Right.
And
so yeah, you can make a lot of inferences.
Yeah.
You can see the dawn chorus. This is in August in Michigan, so it's pretty quiet during that time of the year, but if it were in July, for example, you'd see a much stronger signal. So you can look at changes over time.
So this is a bit like a 24-hour spectrogram.
That's right.
With 6 bands.
That's right.
Okay.
I've just pulled 6 bands.
What's the NDSI?
The NDSI is the normal, it's the same as the AHQI. I just renamed it because I called it the normalized different sound index rather than the acoustic sound quality index, because quality has this human connotation, so I've been chided about that, and I certainly agree with it, that we don't need to be making these quality judgments just yet until we know a little bit more about how this works. So that's the index, Paul, that basically takes the ratio of high frequency sounds to low frequency sounds. Now, if we were to search the entire digital library, we would basically highlight all of the boxes in the search area,
and it would pull up all of the records. In this case, there are 50,832, about 3,100 records per sensor node. If we were to do a little more sophisticated search, we could search all 50,000 records, but only look at the high power at low frequencies, for example. So we could say in the 1 to 2 kilohertz range, I want values that are greater than 0.995 on a 0 to 1 scale. And it will go into the relational database and in about 3 seconds pull out all of those records that are a subset of those 50,000. In this case, this table shows that the criteria that were met, there were 25 in sensor 10, 18 in sensor 4, 2 in sensor 3, 1 in sensor 2, and so on. What I thought I'd do is to just pick one sensor ND03 with 2 records. So we could do that search easily by plugging in, highlighting the sensor number 2, and using that search criteria and just pulling out the data for those 2 sensors, or that sensor for those 2 records. Now it turned out interesting because I don't know if you recognize it's a strange spectrogram. When I first saw that, I wondered what in the world it was. So I'm going to try and play it. I hope this will work. So you can see it's pretty quiet up until about 20 seconds. Wolves, yeah, those are wolves in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. And we thought we might be able to capture some recordings of those, and we were lucky enough to hear them. They've been reintroduced and supported by conservation efforts and so on. So it's a neat one because the people in the conservation area were really interested that we were able to record wolves up there. The other recording is another example of low frequency that is not human technology, because that was the early assumption, is that low frequencies were motors and planes and trucks and boats, and they are, but there's also these other low frequency organisms like wolves, like larger birds, and like this animal that I'm about to play. You're filtering out below 500 hertz by the look of that.
Yes.
Spectrogram.
We always filter out the low frequencies, Mike, as we've talked about several times, because of it being noise that's not interpretable and that disturbs the entire type of analysis that you're doing. And we can talk a bit about that again, but it's we basically ignore that low frequency. Okay, so those are examples of ways to pull out. Here's a little more complex example out of these 50,000 records. So we're saying that we want records for low power at low frequency and mid power in frequency ranges between 2 and 3. So the way you do that is basically say L1, which is the